No, you're good.
Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Haig John, and I have our special guest, Dr. Lona Cook. And I'm so excited to have her on. She's done so many great things, and I'm just excited just to hear some of the stuff she's accomplished in chiropractic and in education and helping people. So, welcome, Dr. Lona Cook.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Haig. I'm so excited to be here. I was just in Cuba with you, so this is great to connect again. And yeah.
Yeah, Cuba was a lot of fun, and we got to hear some of the things that you're doing, and I've actually heard about it for a couple of years, and then I had a chance to connect to you about it. So you're in practice. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You're in practice now, right?
Yep. I've been in practice for 15 years in Western Wisconsin in a city called Chippewa Falls, and which is my hometown for the record, which I never thought I would go back to my hometown. And then lo and behold, where did I open a practice? Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, right? And yeah, now most of the time I speak in the profession, a lot of times I am speaking about our school-based practice, which is in Chippewa Falls as well. But that was something that didn't evolve until maybe, let's see, 2016 is when we started opening the doors to this concept of like bringing chiropractic into a public school. And then it's just been, slow, methodical implementation of things to get a school practice built. And now it's actually just as big as my main practice and keeps expanding. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that alone, it's just an amazing thing because, one of my slogans is a better world starts with
Mhm.
well-adjusted babies. And, my children are 8 and 10 years old. They're babies to me, of course, right?
Mhm. Right.
So, how did this come about? What did where did that concept begin? It's an amazing thing that a lot of us think of, like, how do we get past that gatekeeper? Because we all want to do it and we would
Yeah.
love to be adjusting people. We've gone in and done, scoliosis screenings, we do health talks in schools, we
Mhm.
go and do a lot of those things to give to our community. But getting chiropractic to the children and the staff, I'm sure, as well, teachers, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's been a critical piece. In fact, I think that is the reason why we're being able to do the chiropractic with the kids is it started with the staff first. But yeah, well, that's there's so many things about this project that have felt like divine appointments,
Yeah.
So, I don't remember if I said this in Cuba, but where the project really truly began was I was at a New Beginnings conference in New Jersey, and Dr. Eddie Diaz was on stage and he had, so this was probably 2013 would be my guess, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And he had everyone go through this visualization. And in the visualization, he said, what does the world operate like when people know what we know? To the
Hmm.
point that instead of when children enter school, instead of asking for vaccination records, they're asking, has your child had a chiropractic checkup?
Yeah.
Has your child been checked regularly by a chiropractor? Like, what would that world operate like, right?
Mhm.
And you're sitting at New Beginnings, so of course the entire room is like, oh yeah, like we can totally see it.
Mhm.
And I was the person sitting in the room that was like, that really challenged me. I remember
Mhm.
thinking in my head, like, that sounds nice. I don't know that that's going to happen. And, and the next thing he said, and it was just, again, the right message I needed to hear in my mind at that moment.
Mhm.
I was learning about where do thoughts exist and what is resonance and you know Rupert Sheldrake, like morphic resonance, like how does idea take hold and then really start to like come into like common consciousness, right?
Mhm.
And I realized, because he said in the next sentence, he said, if you can't see it, you're part of the problem,
Wow.
right? And I
Mhm.
was like, shit, that's me. you
Mhm.
know and I realized it doesn't cost us anything to think about potential and probability and like maybe this could happen, and as a profession, and when we get behind something like that where you start to see like maybe this is possible, right? Like what if this could
Mhm.
happen? All of a sudden doors open, right? Because
Yeah.
that's manifestation, like embodiment. And so, that irritated something in me because I could see that I was out of alignment.
Mm.
And I went back and, practice was doing well, and time went on and I started feeling this like urge and this like nudge of like, you're not playing big enough. Like that was the feeling in my head.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like from an egoic stance of like, oh, you need to, you know, make this happen. It was more
Yeah.
like just this like thing that just didn't settle well in me.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so then I remember sitting with it for several months feeling like, what is it about? Like, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it went away when I started to think about maybe I'm supposed to talk to like the superintendent, and maybe like in a region the schools have so much influence, like, and I had already a fairly well established practice, and obviously being from the community I knew quite a few people, and
Mhm.
so it led me to have my initial conversations with the superintendent. And I was pretty straightforward. She wasn't practice member or patient at that time, but she was very open-minded. And they were also going through, when I say divine appointments, there was just weird synchronicity in things that were challenges for the schools at that time that they
Mhm.
couldn't see around how they were going to get through some of the issues they were having. For instance, like, in Wisconsin at that time, there was a ton of benefits that were gutted for the teachers, and
Mhm.
it was at the same time that I was saying, well, what if we just think outside the box and bring them some different ideas,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't make up for the fact that a lot of the teachers were very angry at that moment,
I bet.
um, but it also allows them to see like the schools are actually making an effort to replace with some newer ideas of how they could steward their staff, right? So it
Mhm.
started first with just this idea of like, could we bring portable tables and bring care in for the teacher? And I'm in a large school district, so it's a Division 1 school in Wisconsin, and so there's like 600 some staff, right?
Wow.
And so they pulled their staff. That was the next thing. They pulled the staff and they asked, probably 20 different options of like, would this be beneficial? Everything from more financial consultants or help in their financial life, to then like chiropractic or acupuncture or massage, or better nutritional counseling, like things like that brought to them. And chiropractic was in their top 5.
Okay.
So the committee at that time that was looking at options, they had asked if I would sit on and be one of the people on the committee with them, and I said,
Mhm.
of course. And so then after they got this like response back, then it really, they were like, I guess, if they can use their HSA dollars to pay for it, there's really no reason. If you're telling me that your team can facilitate doing something like this, I guess why not try it, right?
Cool. Yeah.
And so that whole first year was, I always tell people, this was like the unsexiness of like doing this. Like this was
Mhm.
like packing up portable tables when I could have gone home for lunch, packing up
Mhm.
portable tables when I had to get there early before office shifts. Like
Mhm.
it was the grind of
Sure.
like, the door opened and now I can think of a million things that would probably be more productive right now
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
doing this. And yet we consistently, I have videos of me sitting in my car like talking about what we were doing, because I don't think I realized what it could grow into at that point, but I knew like I was committed to like doing this thing. And it was at the end of the first year, so this would have been 2017, that the pupil services director, who in our school district, that's like the head of special ed basically,
Mhm.
she came to me and she's like, why can't we do this with the kids?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I'm like, you tell me. And
Awesome. Mhm.
she's like, I know that's my role, is to find things that are going to help the kids. And I think
Mhm.
we should do this. And I was like, okay, so tell me, you know how the district works. What do we need to do next? And she's like, I'm more of a beg for forgiveness, not ask for permission. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I love this lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so she got the ball rolling for us in the first school, because there's 9 schools in our district. And she's just like, we're going to pick the kids that they called them high flyers. So the kids that were always at the principal's office, the kids that were making it challenging for everyone basically to
Mhm.
do their job slash other kids be involved in a normal educational process. She's like, honestly, we're at our wits' end. Like, we will try anything with some of the kids
Oh
that
yeah.
we're having issues with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where it started. And we just, then I called my good friend who's a lawyer and a chiropractor, and I was like, help me figure out what ducks I need to get in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're going to do this first trial run of this. And yeah, as you can see now, here we are. We're like in, I think, 15 schools. We actually just had a
Wow.
conversation about going into the next school district. I actually just spoke at I'm in my car because I just spoke at a school district that's 45 minutes north of us, for
Wow.
their wellness day on Tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they'll bring chiropractic in up here, but they just, had us give a lay lecture basically to their entire staff and student body.
Well,
So,
those are some major seeds to plant.
right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting here taking notes. I've filled a page up already, and
Mm,
that's such exciting stuff because you're really getting into the root of health and vibrance for these children, and then
mhm,
starting off with the children that I like, the high flyers you said,
mhm,
where that the teachers, you know. I've had a lot of friends that are teachers. My wife has been a teacher, and
mhm.
when you talk about that high flyer, that's the person they get so much attention of just trying to
Right.
manage them. And we've seen such great results in research in chiropractic to help these children,
Right.
and then which ultimately helps the staff and team, which then education for other children can get more focus as well. So the trickle down for that is absolutely tremendous, just serving that small group. And then when you're talking 15 schools,
Mhm.
multiple school districts now, I mean, that is absolutely incredible. So I applaud you tremendously for
Thank
that
you.
hard work because there's nothing easy. And like you said, the unsexiness of those times,
Yeah.
that's the stuff that nobody sees, right?
Right. Well, and
But
to your point, Dr. Haig, like I could
yeah.
never have gotten to where we are now. I have an amazing team that
Hmm.
is, co-led now. We formed a secondary practice for it. Dr. Amanda Blonigan, when she came up, and she was one of those people that was like a divine appointment
Hmm.
to like having a co-pilot in this. And then we met like Heidi Havoc and Life's team, and now we just published a paper, showing some of what we found. It's like
Wow.
those were the things that's the sexy stuff, right? Like the right
Right.
people and the right, and move, and that was what pulled me through. Like my license got turned into the board a year in by another chiropractor, like, and that was a really good experience for me of just like, okay, this is a different game now. And if, we're going to do this and it's okay to stick our neck out and do this, then we need to have our I's dotted, our T's crossed. And it was really that moment of like, are you going to get uncomfortable enough to just keep moving forward and go through this? Or do you just buckle in, like, and then 2020, when the schools shut down, it was another one of those things where it would have been, I'm not going to say easy, but it would have been appropriate potentially to just be like, let's just give up on this thing. Like we're shut down. Now we're like, and instead it
Yeah.
was like, nope, as soon as the schools open back up, we're going to be right back in there. But from a business perspective, it was uncertain times for sure.
Of
It was like, oh,
course.
how are we going to run a practice that we can't even be in the schools because no one's in the
Mhm.
schools,
Right.
So yeah, there's been a lot of things sometimes that have been like, okay, if I wasn't compelled that we are meant to steward this right now,
Mhm.
I know that we wouldn't have gotten this far. That we have all been on this vision of like, there's a reason why these things are happening, and I believe we're meant to keep expanding it. So
Absolutely. And, steel sharpens steel. And, you're going through that turmoil of really just makes your resolve stronger and your team stronger. And so I mean, I really do applaud you. That's absolutely wonderful. And, a little bit of a caveat to the story is, at New Beginnings, I heard you talking about it. And I said to myself, like, that is just absolutely amazing. I have school age children, 8 and 10 years old, third and fifth grade. And of course, I want their friends to be adjusted. I want healthy,
right.
children around my children as well. And I thought that would be really great. As soon as I got home, because I visualized, and my mentor Pasquale Sarasoli, he always used to say, "Thoughts are
Yes.
things," right? And I was called by the Odyssey's charter school, and they're good friends of mine. I've done talks there for years. They grow a lot of their food on campus, organic food in the cafeteria. They have a salad bar. They watch the glycemic index of everything. They have
That's
desserts a
awesome.
couple of times a year, all natural light through the school. They play Mozart through the hallways, clean air, and all on a public school budget, right?
That's amazing.
So they've created the model, 3,000 students, multiple campuses. Calls me. They call me and said, "Hey, we would like you to apply to be on our board of directors." And I thought, okay, I'll apply. There's a stack when I go in this big of all the applicants for board of directors. And lo and behold, I'm on the board of directors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and of course, I think of you immediately, and everything that you just said, everything you talked about at New Beginnings, and everything else, and where we can make a big impact. And as far away as you are in the Midwest, I'm all the way down here in Florida. Start connecting the dots in between. I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. So I'm gonna pick your brain and your team's brain, down the road about
Mhm.
implementation,
Yes.
because I've already started planting the seeds, and they thought, "Wow, what a fantastic idea!" Education for the families. 60%, I believe, of the school is below the poverty level. And so educating people, getting them good nutrition, getting them their neural systems clear, bodies healthier, and educating. And now I'm bringing that team, the founder, Constance Ortiz, who is a warrior, 25 years in this school, and it's created something amazing. And
Yeah, I think you
expressing
need to share all of that with us too, and we bring that back up here too,
well,
right?
and that's where I'm bringing her. We're doing it's Save the Babies at Life University. We have Dr. Brian Hooker, who wrote we're join the Maha movement and save the babies is what we're doing. And
Mhm.
Dr. Hooker is a great friend of mine. We're doing some touring together, and so this is K through 12 prenatal. My thing is uh, prenatal and healthy babies, adjusting babies from birth, and then Dr. Hooker and the work that he's done with vaccine research with RFK Jr. So we're putting together a good team. And I thought, I've got to talk to Lona before this happens. And so I have more tools too. And hopefully, I would love to see her come out and at some point maybe share the stage as well. So there's my invitation for you at some point
Okay, sounds
too.
good. I love
Uh,
that. Yeah.
so, tell me about this paper research, because I'll just give you a little input. I just wrote a paper. It's about birth trauma. Just the short title is "Birth Trauma and the Role of Chiropractic Care." We see a
Mhm.
lot of SIDS incidences and birth trauma incidences that could be avoided. And my goal is also to have chiropractors in labor and delivery around the country.
That'd be amazing.
So, and then
Yes.
we're just starting to expand that into a book right now when we've
Mm.
submitted to peer review. So, it's all about saving lives and helping families live well. So maybe tell me a little bit about your research then you've gotten out of that. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I'll send you the paper so we can put it in the show notes too. But okay, so in 20, you look back, and John, I'm sure, or not John Haig, I'm sure that you probably have everyone do that to you, don't you?
No, you're the first.
No,
No,
yeah,
I'm
right.
kidding. That's
Yeah, I
my
know.
only joke I have for
Oh,
that one. All
yeah,
right.
that's funny. Uh, what I was gonna say is, when we look back, we can see how these like things had to happen to line up, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I'm sure you do that too. And so I used to think about, because I sat on my state association board at a very like young stage in my chiropractic journey, right? So I think I
Mhm.
was like 2 or 3 years in, and
Oh
they
my
were
goodness.
forming yeah, they
Mhm.
were forming
Mhm.
a new association, and I did not have an allegiance to the old one. And so I just said, sure, I'll show up. And it's showing up is so much part of the game, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, so 8 years in, I was the president of the organization. I still was like, why are they letting me doing that? Like, why do they let me do this? And but I in that presidency, I got to travel with our executive director some, and I ended up meeting Heidi Havoc several times. And so I'm sitting next to her at an event in like Texas or something,
Mhm.
and I'm telling her about, we had, just gotten the school program going with the kids for the last year or two at that point. And she's like, "You're adjusting in the schools?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's mostly with children that have, special ed classifications. And she's like, "I want to write that research." And I'm like, "Don't tease me." And she's like, "I'm not. Like, my team will do this with you." So from that point, then we had relationship with her where we were sending her basically our data, to put together a case series basically. And so now fast forward, like that was a lot of years ago, and for a while we're like, is anything going to happen with this stuff? We went through the process then of like figuring out, like, through ethics and different things that you have to do, like, long story short, we've been working on trying to submit a retrospective study and I can't even remember the, like, I'm not the science person, as you can tell. So
I get you. I get it.
yeah, yeah. Um, but there's another paper that should be coming out because last year, so we had fundraised in the last few years 50 grand to do this retrospective study, as well as to do a basically like a feasibility trial, and that's what I
Mhm.
believe what they call it, to see if we can study cortical function in the kids, because as we know from our practices, whether, that's in a school or in a practice, we know that, like, getting adjusted can change the game in many ways that we maybe never even thought possible when the,
Yes,
parents are coming in for one thing and then their child changes on a different level, right?
that's right.
And so Heidi's team was really wanting to do research that was being brain-based research to show,
Mhm.
like, this is why this child that before was ending up at, the principal's office every day, why now have they not had an outburst in a month, like,
Wow. Yeah.
right, those type of things.
Mhm.
It's like we can have the subjective information, but
Mhm.
why do we believe that's happening, right? so
Mhm. Yeah.
so what has come out now is, I believe it's just shy of 200 kids that we sent into the retrospective study,
Mhm.
and basically just showcasing that, like, their reports of their changes, as well as, like, we're measuring HRV and taking some different uh, objective findings that the research team wanted us to do to set the stage for continuing to do more research on this, because right now some of what we can say, we can say certain things like they're more able to regulate, and that there is a need to better understand what's happening.
Mhm.
So this is why we need to do this next layer that would come
Mhm.
after this feasibility trial. That would actually, the feasibility trial we had, again, I don't know the scientific language, but it was like electrodes basically on parts of the head. Obviously the parents have
Mhm.
to sign their kids up to do this,
Sure. Mhm.
to look at how their brain is firing differently
That's
as
incredible.
they're getting adjusted. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
that's absolutely amazing. I mean, that type of research, when we're doing actually getting real time research in chiropractic, that's what we're always kind of looking for. How can we put this into practical sense? How can we measure outcomes? And you're doing it and seeing it with children. And right now, it's such a critical time because we're looking at health of whole families, but babies, families, the whole family unit, and then the education system. We don't want to forget about that.
Right.
And so absolutely incredible. I mean, I have a small scientific mind. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. How do we get it? Heidi Havoc has such a long history of great research. So I think I'm putting her on the list too to get her on the
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast, and we'll go into a little bit of this science too. I can't wait to read that paper. You said you can forward it to us and
Oh
we can
yeah.
put
I'll
it in the
send it to you. I'll
comments
send
here.
it to you today. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
For sure.
very much.
Yes.
Um, so how many chiropractors do you have? You have your chiropractic team on campus. How many chiropractors are there? Is it one?
Nope. Okay. So we have two full-time and then two part-time. And the one part-time is on maternity leave. So we're still trying to figure out if she's coming back. But between the three of them, they serve the schools.
Mhm.
And then in my main office, there's three of us too.
So, it's not just a part-time thing of, chiropractors running over there, once a month or something. You have a team on campus serving
Yep.
How?
No, two of them are full time in the schools with one
Yeah,
assistant that's full time in the schools, and then one that's 20 hours a week. So yeah, but we didn't start there, right? We started with,
sure.
I was running 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, and then eventually Amanda came on, and she was part time between the office, and so we've had a lot of conversations about like how does this thing keep expanding, and like, anyone listening to this podcast too that has a heart for something like this, as well as has a really stable, great practice already.
Mhm.
Like, you're our avatar to like help do this to the next level. You already have trust likely in your community established. You already have a strong presence in your actual brick and mortar. you know you're the perfect person then to start to like open these doors and like grow it into another additional practice, or a wing off of your practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we have to step into our roles as
Hmm.
chiropractors, educators, and servers.
Hmm.
And that's where I felt that calling. When you said that, it just like maybe similar to the resonance that happened with you, it really happened, and then it manifested almost immediately when I
Yeah, I
got
love that.
back. And I thought, there's a stack this big. All right, I'll fill out the paperwork. I did the interview and those things, and lo and behold, we're having our first meeting in a couple of weeks,
I
and we've
love
already
it.
started dropping the hints about having chiropractic care on campus, and
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. So you were a big catalyst for that, and I really appreciate you very, very much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, it's not my idea. I just, was irritated enough at a new beginnings to realize I think I'm supposed to learn something here. So, yeah.
Well, it's listening to our spirit and listening to
Mm,
Innate about taking action. We can get messages. Dee Dee Palmer got the inspiration, which means to bring in spirit for chiropractic. He could have sat back and adjusted his family only or whatever, but then he changed the
right.
world by teaching everyone and serving and giving us the beautiful chiropractic and chiropractic philosophy that we all have.
So true.
Well,
So true.
I truly appreciate you. Thank you very much. We'll put all your
My
details
pleasure.
in with this the YouTube channel, and we want to thank you. And I can't wait to read that paper.
I will send it over to you today.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
going to plug
you.
our event a little bit right now. We're doing Save the Babies. We're actually filming for Save the Babies as our documentary. And whoever would like to come, you're welcome to. You can go to my website, drhaigjohn.com, and we can register. And you can find registration on our pages as well. And we're going to have some great speakers, and we're planning a short tour for through 2025. So join us at Save the Babies at Life University. And we want to thank Life University for sponsoring this as well, and Life Force as well for being another one of our sponsors. So, and then again, I want to thank Lona Cook, who's inspired me. The first time I ever saw her, you inspired me. And so, I want to grow this relationship of service, and I really, really appreciate you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. I look forward to us having many conversations about this as you keep expanding it too, Dr. Haig.
Thank you very much. Thank
Mhm.
you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.